Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a haircut on a rough and uneven mannequin that I found in the classroom. As I go through this haircut, I'm going to point out some of the things that I do on a regular basis to keep a precision haircut going throughout the head and kind of where I can maintain my workspace and not lose where I am in the haircut. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is as I go through this video, you're probably going to hear me repeat myself a couple of times, but that's out of habit. And I know being a classroom teacher that hearing the information more than once is not a bad thing. But let's get started. As I go through this voiceover, I want to mention that I may be ahead of the video or behind the video, but more than anything, I want to be able to provide you the information that I feel is key when doing a precision haircut. The voiceover is going to be the hardest part of doing videos, but I'll get it down here in a minute. You'll see that's a 0 degree. Hairs come straight down, no elevation. Turning the mannequin from side to side. Trimming those edges. Taking the subsection, combing it down. Checking. And cut. See that area right there? That was already cut when I picked up the mannequin. Comb that section down. Again, use the guideline. You're going to pull all of that hair down to 0 degree to begin your haircuts. And a lot of times it's not going to it's not going to reach all the way to the end. So you just need to do that from side to side. And pull down each of these subsections, repeating what you did on the right-hand side. Now, I've always cut the hair on the right-hand side, like the back quadrant on the right-hand side, and then I'll go to the left-hand side. We're just about to get all of that even. And then after we get this finished, we're going to start. Well, I guess there's still some more we need to trim. Maybe one more time. Oh, here we go. Now I've gone back to the bottom. What I'm doing now is doing a 90 degree haircut. I'm using a traveling guide for this. Also, you'll notice when I cut hair, I pull the hair out between my fingers, and my fingers are always, always, always going to be pointing toward the ground. Again, my fingers are pointing toward the ground, and I hold the hair between the knuckle and the end of the finger. This is going to allow me to hold onto the hair that needs to be cut. Usually this is about a 1 inch section. And I'm going to take another 1 inch parting, keeping that line straight. And securing that hair. I'm checking that area right there doesn't need anything else cut off of it. I'm going to go back to the middle, fingers pointed to the ground. Take half of what I've already cut, pick up half of the other, check, and then cut. Now the reason I cut hair with my fingers pointed down, even like I guess I go toward the right-hand side. You know, I'll go back and forth if I'm on the back. But then when I start on the front, I still like anything that's the very top of the head, my hands go to the ground. And it allows me, what I was talking about earlier, when I pull the hair to my chest, I am able to, I don't know, it's just a gravity thing with me. It's just what I do. It's how I learned how to do it, and I still do it today. But anyway, let's get back to the video. Hold the hair out 90 degrees from where the hair is coming out of the head. Now we're on the left-hand side and taking 1-inch partings, making sure that we stay with our guideline, taking a half of what we've cut, turning the head right in front of our body as we cut so that we can keep a standard length. Sometimes if you pull the hair to you, you get something over directed. Now in a little bit you're going to see me over direct, but I'm purposely over directing. If you're just trying to do a 90-degree cut, just stand in front of where you are actually pulling the hair out of the head so that you get that same length time after time. Now in the crown area, I measured the length that I wanted this to be. And, you know, a lot of times you're going to ask your client how long they want that top layer to be. But just, I think it was like 5 inches, maybe 4.5, 5 inches. And again, even when I get to the top of the head, the crown area, and I pull the hair out, where I'm cutting, that is an exact 90-degree angle. Now, as I go down the head, I'm going to bring that hair, as you see, I've kind of got like a fistful, but I'm only cutting from my knuckle to the end of my finger. Now, I've over-directed probably right around that occipital area, pulling it up to that 90-degree angle. That's a little over-directed. And then on that last little section right here, let me see if I can get to where I'm talking about. I'm still doing a 90-degree, but on this last section, I'm going to pull that last piece over to where I had cut just before. Did you see that? Were you able to see that I over-directed, or, you know, I pulled that to me? And I'm going to do that again on the other side. Everything is exactly a 90-degree except for the hair that is coming out of that part there. Now I'm just going back through that whole area that I just cut, making sure that I got any long pieces out of that haircut. And I shake my hands like that so that my hair is tight and I can, you know, cut it where it needs to be cut. See, I'm pulling that up so that occipital area is going to be a little over directed up to that last 90-degree spot. Again, just pulling the hair, maintaining control, combing your hair smooth. And that's where, this is where I over direct. I'm pulling that on the left next to the part over to the last 90 degrees. And again, I'm going to go back through it and check. Now at this point, what I'm trying to do is where my 0 degree and my 90 degree come together, I'm pulling straight out because I want a little flip back there. I'm pulling straight out and I am evening that up horizontally, and basically it is blending those two areas. As I comb around the head and evening up those areas, I do this just about every time I do a haircut too. See, you can catch so many long pieces that you might miss along the way. It's just important. You can see it starting to come together. Now, from the occipital, I just grab a little hair using my comb, and then I take my shears vertically and I just open them up just a little bit, just enough to notch underneath so that those shear marks don't show up, because sometimes when you cut on top of the hair, you'll see the shear marks. So basically just taking out weight right now, and you'll see it really starting to fluff up. Again, notice how I am standing in front of where I'm cutting the hair. So important. If you don't practice anything except for standing in front of where you're cutting the hair, well, that's just the big takeaway. Now, I've gone up and I'm doing a zigzag part, and I'm doing basically the same technique. I'm just taking some of the volume out from the underneath. It just makes such a difference when you texture a haircut. Now, barely holding the shears open. Now raising that up again. And again, I'm going underneath the hair to make those little wispies, I guess, is what you would call it. Right in this area, there's a little more that I want to do to it. It's a little thick feeling, so I angle my shears and taper through it, fluff it up, run your hands through it. We're going to turn the mannequin around, and we're going to get started on the front. It's all one length. And here's the other side, same thing. You see that the back is cut. Now when we start on the front, I'm going to do a side part that's zigzagged. Just lay your comb in there all the way to the scalp and go back and forth pretty quickly. After I zigzag the hair, I'm going to take a 1-inch section from the front to the back. I'm going to over direct. I'm going to comb the hair straight up, making sure it's all smooth, and I'm going to cut the front with the guideline in the crown of the head. And I'm going to do that with all of that front section. I may take horizontal partings, I may take vertical partings, but they're all going to be cut in that one area so that you get the even distribution, and make sure that you don't cut off too much. If you'll over direct to the point of, your longest point, you're not going to have any mistakes. One thing I want to point out is you see me pulling the hair straight up. I've got a good grip on the hair, and then I may bend my arm a little bit, but I don't lose the spacing and the hold of the actual hair that I'm cutting. So you're going to see me go through this entire top portion, front portion, and do the same technique in that same spot. We have a different angle here on the side of the mannequin. I'm going to comb that hair straight down. And what I'm trying to do here is just go ahead and try to even up the back with the front portion. As I even up the front to go into the back, you'll see me do a 45-degree angle, and I trim off those edges just to give myself, again, just a smooth area. I call it a pie shape between the front quadrant and the back quadrant, and I raise it up 45, somewhere between a 45 and a 90 degree, and I even up the back with the front of the hair. Experience is going to teach you that you need to do this after every haircut, because you'll do this perfect haircut in the back and you'll do a perfect haircut in the front, but then a lot of times you forget to blend those two areas. So just kind of make that a habit. That's probably the last thing I do on most haircuts. A lot of times I'll do zigzag right here. I'm taking out bulk from underneath the hair. I am diagonally parting and raising the hair straight up, blending the back with the front. I'm going to go through each layer and perform the same procedure. There's nothing technical about this. This is just what you're going to learn to do after you've learned the basics of hair cutting. You're going to learn to put character in your haircuts. Again, we're just going to watch, just trimming that up. I'm going to take a pie-shaped section and pull it toward the front and do that all the way down, taking out more bulk, giving it a little character here in the front, giving yourself a little volume, checking the cut. One thing I forgot to mention, when you're taking those pie shapes to blend the back and the front together, make sure you don't take the top layer or the bottom layer. Just take that middle section and do the blending at that point. Now you can use the top and the bottom as your guideline, but make sure you don't pull it up, because chances are you're going to cut more off than what you're really wanting to. Right here I have the whole piece in my hand, but I'm not cutting that very front piece. I'm using that as an actual guideline. And basically here I'm just tapering out so I'll have some wispy, rough end. Now these are not my salon shears. These are a pair that I keep at school, so they're not as sharp because I do use them on mannequin hair. And y'all know that when you cut mannequin hair, your shears get really dull. Again, zigzag parts makes the blending a little easier. Now we're going to dry this haircut. If you'll notice, the mannequin is pre-dried, probably to 80% dry. If you put a round brush in totally saturated hair, you're going to find that it's difficult to do. Your client's going to be in pain, and it's going to take you much longer. So just get a vent brush, just use your hands in your hair dryer and just work most of the moisture out of that before you ever put the round brush in there. You'll also notice when selecting the size of the round brush, which I think I'm going to do a video on a little bit later, it's just like when you learned how to do a roller set. You're only going to use the size that actually is conducive to the hair. So you need to make sure that whatever you do, you can at least go around the hair 1.5 times. So in theory, when you are selecting a round brush, you're wanting volume. So the example that I would give is you wouldn't want to have a mannequin or a customer with 6 inches of hair wanting to get volume and grabbing a 1/2 inch round brush. That's just not going to work. That 1/2 inch round brush is going to be for a really short haircut. As we finish up, we're going to do some more blending and texturizing. One thing I forgot to mention is that I usually blow dry the back of my haircut before I actually even start the front of my haircut. Now you need to be able to, get some experience and figure this all out and figure out what works best for you. But a lot of times I will do the entire back of the haircut before I even start on the front of the haircut. So you're going to figure out what is best for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have questions for me. I hope I am able to answer anything that you need. Like my page, share my page, and invite whoever to watch my videos, and stay tuned for more. Thanks again.